The following program was made possible thanks to the generous support of our Kickstarter backers.
Well, first Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired.
Sup, Holmes?
Beware your host, Jonathan Holmes.
That was an awesome echo. I loved it. Dave
Hey,
Oshry,
what's up, man?
I feel great.
I feel
How about
pretty
you?
good. It's Sunday. It's hard to feel bad on a Sunday.
But you probably work on Sundays. When do you not work at your 3 different companies? 2 or 3?
Never. I'm always working.
Dave Oshry, for people who don't know, industry veteran at the tender age of 16.
Yeah, I'm just a baby. I haven't even been bar mitzvahed yet. I mean, I've been putting it off for a while, me and Mamala. When are you going to get bar mitzvahed and finally do things in the game industry? And I say, yeah, when I've shipped the AAA title.
Well, I would say Rise of the Triad. It felt AAA to me. You were involved in that video game.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say AAA, maybe like triple B, but yeah, it was definitely like a thing. Yeah, we put that out, what, 23rd? Holy shit, it's been 2 years since we put out Triad. Oh my god, I'm old.
And there was a lot of talk of that, especially in PC circles, where people understood the history behind the series. So for people who don't know, Dave Oshry has written about video games. He has produced video games. He is also a sunglasses master, or glasses in general. Are you wearing Gunners right now?
So I've got gunners on my head because if the thing about gunners is because of the lenses, they reflect like crazy if I look into a screen, and nobody will be able to see my eyes. But yes, I've got some gunners on my head, and then I've got some gunners on my head. Because if we can't do product placement on Sub Holmes, I mean, what can we do?
Yeah, they look absolutely fantastic. I wish I had them, but my head is already shining pretty hard. So if I added some like reflectory glass to it.
Nice AR coatings we can put on your head to really.
Is that right? Product placement,
really shine it up. Yeah. So actually, that's what I wish I would love to be wearing my gunners right now, but like, no, you wouldn't be able to see my eyes.
I think it's a very good look. So maybe we should start at the top. How did you get started in this whole video games thing?
Holy shit, are we going back that far?
Not.
Yeah. A whole 5 years. Man, how did I get started doing video game stuff? Holy shit, I forgot. Well, I was just playing games and stuff, and I was out of grad school and selling cars because I grew up in the car business. My dad was a car dealer. We owned a big car dealership in Queens, New York. That's where I'm from. Haven't always been from the NCR. I was playing WoW, as you do, and I raided with this dude called Rip10. He was a warrior. He was like a real big, angry son of a bitch. But he ran a blog, and the blog was also called Rip10, conveniently. And I was like, hey man, this is it's a pretty cool blog. I mean, I've got some free time because back then I did. I'd like to write about video games. Can I like review games for your gaming blog? And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever, I guess. And I did, and the first thing I ever wrote about games was a review for Dragon Age Origins, and I gave it a 9 because it's awesome. And from there, I just kind of started writing, and I really got into writing about games, and I did reviews and previews and interviews and all that stuff. And the site started getting bigger and bigger. And then like I kind of spun that off. I invested in the site, like bought half of it out from Chad, and then sold it back to him. Because we had made some money back in, I think, like early 2012. And then I did some freelancing. I did a weekend editing gig at Kotaku, wrote for PC Gamer, Joystick, VG247, did a bunch of stuff there. And just kind of like next thing you know, I was writing like everywhere. I was just doing tons of stories. I was like a 15 story a day kind of guy, and it was super fun, back in like 2011. 2011 was an awesome year to be writing about video games. It was just like Deus Ex, Skyrim, and all this cool shit. 2014, not such a great year to write about video games, but 2011, that was rad. And then, from there, one of the things I covered was this game that these dudes in Denmark were trying to make a full Unreal 3 reboot of Duke Nukem 3D, and they were calling it Duke Nukem Reloaded. And it was this dude named Fred Schreiber from Denmark who was a modder, and you probably saw back then like all these awesome Unreal 3 screenshots of like Duke 3D being remade in Unreal, and they had gotten like a license to do it from Gearbox, and the whole thing was going really well. And then they shut it down. Gearbox was like, actually, no, we don't want you to make that. And I covered it a bunch on Rip 10 and some other sites, and then I started talking to those dudes in like, I don't know, late 2012, I guess. And I was like, what are you guys looking to do? And they were like, well, we've been in touch with, I'm going to do my Denmark accent now. It's very terrible. We got in touch with this legendary publisher, legendary, and they want us to work on some of their franchises. And, we're looking for like marketing and investors and stuff like that. And you do some of that stuff, yeah? And I was like, well, I guess kind of, sort of, I've never like, I had a marketing background, but I never like published or marketed or produced or invested in a video game before. And I had some money from the other stuff I had done. So I was like, I could, yeah, sure. Like, what do you want to talk about? And they pitched me on what I believe was essentially a Duke Nukem game. Because back then Apogee still had the rights to do a bunch of Duke Nukem like mobile games and stuff before the whole Gearbox thing happened. And I was like, seems kind of risky, the rights seemed kind of up in the air, and they wanted like a bunch of money. But since I had Apogee on the phone, I was like, what are you guys doing? Do you guys still have the rights to Rise of the Triad? Because that would be kind of cool. And they were like, actually, yeah. And Fred was like, I love Rise of the Triad. Yeah, I could we make that game? I was like, fuck yeah, let's do that. And we did. And 2 years later, we put out a reboot to Rise of the Triad, and it did pretty well. Fans of the original loved it. We also got to re-release the originals on Steam, which I'm pretty proud of, along with a bunch of other old Apogee games. Kind of brought the whole like Apogee name back, which was pretty cool for me because that was like a big part of my childhood, Apogee games and all that stuff. And then after Triad did well, the Interceptor guys went on to work on another game, which was kind of a Duke Nukem game that ended up becoming Bombshell now. You've probably seen it.
We just reviewed that, I think.
You guys just did a preview for it on Detoid coming out of GDC. That was the first time they showed it. And they've been working on that. And what I did was I decided to form, do the hipster thing and form a little indie studio with a bunch of my friends. We called it New Blood Interactive because we had a bunch of new blood. I still honestly don't remember when or how or why we formed the company, but I did. Like, I made an LLC and everything. It's like a real company. And then, I've been doing that for a while. We helped some people put out some games. We're working on games of our own. I swear we're totally working on games. It is not just a money laundering front for Gunner. But I actually didn't get hired at Gunner until, holy shit, what year am I in now? 2013. So like November 2013. I got approached by Gunner because my friend who was working there, she left to go to Astro, and she was like, hey, there's a position open in Gunner. And I was like, Gunner, I wear those. I guess I could go work for them. That sounds cool. Where are they located? Like around the block from your house. I was like, sweet. Like I'll go work for a company that's literally like down the block. So I started working there as their director of marketing and took over as VP of Biz Dev like a month ago. And so now currently, I've put out, I think helped put out like 10 games on Steam, 10-ish games on Steam. Haven't done any console stuff yet, but that's cool, whatever. I'm working at Gunner as the VP of Biz Dev, and I'm running this studio with my friends, and it's so far so good. It's been a pretty crazy 5 years, like making like when you ask me like, so how'd you get started? I'm like, holy shit, it's 5 years. It seems like a lifetime, but so far so good. I'm having fun, busy as hell, but having a lot of fun. And I mean, the dream is, it's funny, like you do all this stuff, and then the dream is to just be able to make games in your garage with your friends. Like that's all I want to do. I just want to be able to like get like my buddies over here and like make games with them in the garage and like put them out and do stuff. Like that's 5 years. Getting to that. That's
right.
all I want.
Huh. So you've risen to the top or close to the top at Gunner. You have put out what you call a triple B, which is adorable. It just makes me want to pinch its cheeks. A little BB, little BBB. And now you've turned around and put out with New Blood Super Galaxy Squadron. Is that?
Yeah. Yes. SGS. So when we were looking for a pixel artist for the game we're working on, and we found this dude on Reddit, of course, because that's where you find everything. And then we went to his site and we picked him up, and we're like, dude, you're awesome. We love, because he was working on, well, I can't really talk about what we're working on, but the kind of game he was working on is the kind of game we're working on. And he had already had this game called Super Galaxy Squadron on Kickstarter. It was 12,000% funded or something, because he asked for like $200, and he was up to like $1,500. So the Kickstarter said it was like 3,000% funded, which was hilarious. And we're like, dude, this game rocks. Let's, we'll help you polish it up, do some business stuff and put it on Steam for you. And he was like, really? You could put my game on Steam? I'm like, fuck yeah, that's what we do. Um, so we put that out like a month and a half ago or so, and all the proceeds go to charity, which is rad. I owe Child's Play like a check. I have to, since we just got the money from Valve. And it's awesome just to not only be working on our own games, but to help other people or our people just put games on Steam. Because you see so many like indie devs like struggling just to like get their games out there, right? And I'm just like, I could put your game on Steam for you. I've got a developer account. Boom, 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 press a few buttons. There's your game on Steam. Like I'm not saying it's gonna be like the next Rust, or DayZ, but like I can help it get out there and get to some people.
And it's done pretty well on there, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it did well, better than, I mean, we released it like surprise, like on a Friday. We told Valve on Monday that we were gonna put this game out, and like on Friday they put it out. We were just like, surprise, who wants to review and talk about our game? And people were streaming it and playing it. We've done like a few thousand copies, and like I'm writing Child's Play like a pretty big check, like $10,000, like just for charity. And I was like, that's more.
It's only been out for like a month or so, right?
Yeah, and well, that's more money than I've ever raised for Child's Play, like doing any streams or anything. And that's kind of just like the power of Steam as a platform. It's like even if your game's not big, you're still gonna get enough exposure to make a difference in like somebody's life. Like the difference, like it's not gonna like change like New Blood. I mean, it was our first published game on Steam, so that's awesome. But like Nick made this game himself, pretty much, right? And like next thing you know, it's like on the front page of Steam. Like that's crazy for a dude who made a game himself. And like he's like, let's give all the money to charity. Like if he would have just released it himself, on itch.io or whatever, like maybe a couple of $100 to Child's Play, right? But since
Sure.
we were able to put it on Steam, like I get to give Child's Play like 10 grand. Like here you go, here's a big fat check. Like a whole bunch of kids in hospitals are gonna get like Xbox 360s now because we were able to put this little shmup on Steam, and like that feels good, right? That feels like really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And to have the New Blood from the forefront be known as those guys who made a game for charity and it was successful, like that's kind of what people are gonna associate with your brand from here on out. Which is, I don't know if that was part of the stragy.
Yeah, no, I mean, so that was actually that was Nick's idea, and I was like, do we have to give it all to charity? Yeah, it'd be funny if like every game we release now they're like, these guys aren't giving it to charity anymore. Screw these guys. Like, don't give them money. They want money for their games. No, please, we need to live. No, I think it was definitely a cool way to start out, like our publishing, because we helped put out a game on Steam last year called The Red Solstice. That wasn't through New Blood. We helped do the publishing and marketing, but that was through my buddy Tom and his company Enkidu and my buddy Khaled. But that was actually the first game the New Blood dudes helped get on Steam. Before that, it was all just like me and Apogee and stuff. But having the first game the New Bloods officially put out like under our label on Steam and stuff, be like a game for Child's Play, be like a really tight game, a fun game, a game that we're definitely going to make a sequel to, a game that like our 2D artist made by himself that we get to help hype him up, and now he's like a game designer, he's like, hey, I'm a guy that designed the game, you can get it on Steam. Like, how cool is that for his fucking resume?
Yeah, and everybody's resume, just everyone's life in general is better now, in my opinion.
I mean, that's kind of like my thing. I really like being able, because like I can't code, I can't draw, I can't do art, I'm a business guy, right? So the most I can do besides sign checks and make deals is like help people get to where they need to be. So like with Triad, like everybody who worked on that game has gone on to do like bigger and better things. They're working on big studios. They're working on Interceptor's next thing, or they're working with me on stuff. And it's crazy how much that little game that like blew into a big thing that we built basically as like a mod. We were like a mod team working. Everybody's gone on to do bigger and better stuff. And like Nick was just some guy working on a game, in his spare time, and now he's like a Steam developer. And like all these people that like that's like what does it for me, that I can help. As a business guy who can't like contribute any like art or coding or animations, can help people like get to that next level in their career. Like that's what I'm in it for.
Yeah, I think you're selling yourself short, Dave Oshry. Not only do you bring business acumen and skill, you bring an energy to things and an understanding of what actually makes a video game fun. I know so many game developers, and they know the science of programming, they know the science of design, but they get so close to the medium that they forget what people who just like, I want to have a fun time playing a video game tonight. What's that going to be? Is that going to be like a deep exploration of somebody's soul, or is it going to be GTA heists? And you're still like, though you work a lot, you play fairly hard as well,
try.
Dave.
I mean, So I still raid WoW. That's my big confession. Well, I started again because Warlords of Draenor is actually really good. And I joined up with Exodus again, and I'm raiding like 2, 3 nights a week, and it's sucking my life away. But the game's really good. And GTA Heist did just come out, and me and Aaron, my co-founder at New Blood, have been jumping into that. It's like WoW raiding because the heists take like 2, 3, 4 hours. But it's fun because I'll usually kill somebody. I'll run them over with like, my Range Rover or something, and it's like YOLO. But
Have you lost any heists yet? Have you like tried to
oh
pull
yeah,
off a big? Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. We've had to like the GTA is pretty easy on you. Like they'll restart you at a checkpoint. It's not that bad. But I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are just like caught up in like super serious, making like super, narrative games, and like me and Aaron just want to make like the funnest, dumbest shit. Just like it doesn't have to be big as long as it's fun and kind of dumb. And like eventually I think we want to make something like really dark and brutal and awesome and like deep, but we're not there yet, right? So until we get there, just like fun, stuff that's fun to work on. Because like when you're working on games, nothing sucks the life out of a company more than like when you're working on something you're not really into. And on a lot of the stuff we're working on now, like Aaron vacillates because he's a lead designer too, between like getting really hype about working on something and then you'll hit like a roadblock. It's almost kind of like writer's block, where you're just like, I don't want to be working on this right now. And I think the key to that is play more games. Like because we started playing because we were kind of in a rut, working on stuff. We're like, let's because the first play more games and work on like side stuff. Especially with like UE4 now being like free and open to anyone. Anyone can make games. Like anyone can make games. Like if people are always like, how do I get into the games industry? Go make something. Unreal Engine 4 is free. Boot it up and start making shit. Make mods. Most companies hire people who make stuff now. It's not about what college you went to. It's about what you've made, what's on your resume, what mods have you done. How active are you in the community of these certain games, and play stuff. Like me and Aaron were just like, I don't really feel like working tonight. What do you want to do? And we booted up City Skylines, and we were like, this is okay, but you know what? This is really making me wonder, how the fuck is SimCity 2013 doing right now? Let's go see if that thing works. And so we installed Origin and reinstalled SimCity 2013, and it's awesome now. They fixed everything, but it's been like years. Yeah, so it works. Like all the online stuff works, like all the interaction works, and we built like 5 cities already. And we're like, SimCity 2013 is amazing. I don't want to tell anybody because I'll get like yelled at. It's like, no, that game's bad. How dare you? Rest in peace, Maxis. But it was actually like really calming, and we're like, okay, now we can get back to work. It was nice to play like a nice, peaceful, relaxing game for a minute. I think that's a big part of it. Just like kind of, especially if you're like in crunch or you get caught up in stuff, go play some fucking games. Play games. Play your own games. I mean, also a lot of people only ever play their own games. Like I only played Rise of the Triad for like 2 years because all I was doing was testing builds and playing and doing multiplayer, and I still play it every weekend with our community dudes. But you just gotta play some games. I remember I was talking to I think it was back in 2013. Chris Avallone from Obsidian, super famous RPG writer dude. He's also a buddy of mine, and I was like, dude, have you played Witcher 2 yet? I'll give you a copy. Like, it's awesome. You'd love it. And he's like, I do not do anything but write Fallout New Vegas DLC and then play the Fallout New Vegas DLC and then write more Fallout New Vegas DLC, and that's pretty much my life right now. And I was like, because back then I wasn't developing games. I assumed Chris Avallone played all RPGs. That's how he got inspiration to write all these great things that he writes and be a Kickstarter reward for everybody. But no, like, I mean, when you're involved in like a big game, there's no time. Or even a small game, like all there's time to do is work on your game and play your game. So I mean, my advice, if I had any, was like, take a break sometimes and play other people's games, because you'll get super inspired a lot of times. Like, that system works real. Can we put that? You think that would work if we put that thing from that game in our thing? It's like, let's try it. And with a small studio, you've got the freedom to do stuff like that, which is rad. Like, I don't know if I ever want to work on like a big title. Like, you hear all these horror stories about AAA development, right? And like, kudos to like the big AAA like developers who put out these like massive games and sell like 5-10 million copies, and like they have 500 people working on them, right? Without that, you wouldn't get like a Grand Theft Auto 5, or a Witcher 3, so awesome. But that seems just like way too much pressure that like I would never want to work on anything that big. Like, I like where we're at now. I'd like to just kind of like keep releasing like small stuff, maybe like kind of bigger stuff, But I mean, that's the dream, right? Just making shit in the garage with your friends. I mean, that's my dream.
But as I know you, I can't help but imagine that in 5 years, you're still going to want that feeling of making games in the garage with your friends, but your garage is going to be like the size of a football field, and you're going to have a billion. You already have like a billion friends. And you're the half-running Gunner, which is a gigantic company. At least in my brain, you seem gigantic. Yeah.
Gunner's actually a really small company. There's like 50
Really?
people at the company. Yeah,
No
that's
way.
the biggest. People think we're like this big Oakley type company. We're like
Yeah.
a tiny company.
Huh.
Yeah.
But you do big things, and there's
I
a
like
lot
to
of
think
money on. Yeah, absolutely. And I assume there's
okay.
money on the line, and you handle
Oh, yeah.
that pressure like a champ, as you have for a long time. Rise of the Triad. I assume there's a lot of money riding on that, at least
Oh yeah.
some.
My whole life was riding on that game.
Yeah, I
I
imagine.
spent. I put every. If I wrote a blog last year called No Half Measures, and it was basically like if you're gonna do something, you got to go all in, or you're probably gonna fail or not hit your goals. I put every dollar I had into Rise of the Triad. We all did. Everybody. Frederick. Yahoo. We all put all our money into that game, and like if it failed, we would all probably be broke. Like Intercept, but it didn't fail. It did pretty damn well. And I went from having zero money one day to being in a Steam sale the next to living in like a big ass house with like a bunch of cars and stuff like 3 months later, and it's still like I'll walk around my house sometimes. I'll be like, I get to live here? Like really? This is my fucking house off my triple B game. And the same with Interceptor, right? Like if Triad didn't do well, I don't know what they'd be modding again. Instead, they turned around and bought 3D Realms. Like the company that was making a Duke Nukem mod because of the success of the game we did and we put our own money into, was able to turn around and buy the publisher of the original, and they now own 3D Realms, which is nuts. Like that's wild to me. So I mean, you got to go all in, but yeah, I mean, thinking back, it was kind of risk. I don't know if I don't want to ever do that again, like just go in all or nothing. Like I don't ever want to be broke again. I don't ever want to put my girlfriend through that again. So I'd like to keep it small and keep budgets low and stuff.
Hmm. Makes
But I
sense,
would,
but still, like, you were rewarded so handsomely for it. What was it that caused you to be able to take that risk? Oh, my set's falling apart. At the time, how did you come to a point where you're like, yeah, I'm going to go all in financially, emotionally, intellectually, business-wise on this game?
I don't think there was a choice. Like if I mean if it didn't come out, or if we put out if we couldn't get it done, I mean, it was game over for all of us. Who would ever let me market or publish a game again? Who would ever let Interceptor develop a game again? Who would ever let any of these dudes like work in games again, right? All the what's going on back there?
Oh, sorry about that.
No, I'm just playing keyboard. Like I mean, all these artists and coders and animators and music dudes, I mean, who would ever hire them again if they worked on a failed project, right? I mean, sure, they'd probably be able to get work again, but I mean, carrying that weight, I was just like, fuck it, no, like I'm gonna do everything I can. I sold my car, I sold my dad's watch, I sold my house, well, it was my
Wow.
apartment then,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I'm just gonna, whatever we need to get it done, like, because I knew there was a calculated risk, right? It wasn't just like, I had tracked the hype and the pre-orders and stuff, and I was like, this is gonna like we'll break even at least. It ended up doing way better than that, thanks to Glorious Gabe and Steam sales and stuff like that. But there was no other way, right? Like I wasn't, I wasn't gonna take on the responsibility of having like 20, 30 people like me and Fred and Khaled, and just let them all down by not finishing the game or putting out something we weren't happy with. Like it wasn't, when it came out, there were still issues with it, right? We had a bunch of launch issues and stuff. We got in there, we fixed them. I mean, the game's rad now. But I mean, it was still, I mean, I think in games, especially if you're not in the AAA space, like good enough, especially on Steam, is good enough. Like we put out a game that we were all really happy with. Like there was so much game there. Like we put out a game with like a 12-hour campaign and like a bunch of multiplayer, and it was moddable and all this stuff. And we were just like a team of like between 10 and 30 people, just all working part-time from our homes around the world. Most of us have still never met. I've never met most of the Triad team, and I may never meet a bunch of those guys. I mean, they're in Russia, they're in Israel, they're everywhere. but I think we kind of had to. And I mean, now, 2 years later, seeing where everyone has gone since then, I mean, I knew it was the right decision. I mean, it's scary. I don't like to look back on it like that time when we were like crunching to get it back, because it's pretty terrifying. There was just like, it was weird. I mean, Julia would ask me like, "Babe, what are we gonna do if what if the game doesn't sell?" And I'm like, "It will. Don't worry, it
Mm.
will." She's like, "But what if it doesn't?" And I'm like, "Stop asking me that." You know.
So, if you had known at the outset that you were eventually going to get to this like apex of stress and risk, like it sounds like when you strike me as the kind of guy who'll be like, "Hey, this sounds like a good idea," and then like suddenly a week later you've been working on it, just like I'm having fun, I'm making a thing, and then after you're in it for a little bit, you might look back and be like, "Whoa, wait a minute, if this doesn't work out, like we're going to be
Yeah.
poor." Is that kind of how it came together?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to do that ever again. I'd like to keep it
I don't know if you can help it.
Yeah.
You seem like a head first kind of guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I got Aaron on board. Aaron's really good at telling me no. He's also my best friend, but a lot of people, especially when you start making games and making money with games, just kind of want to yes you to death.
Mm.
They're like, "Hey, you got money? Okay, cool. Yes. Oh, all your ideas are great. Everything you do is amazing. Yeah, yeah. So give me. Can I have some of that money now? Like, I think you're awesome." Aaron will be like, "No, that's dumb. That idea sucks. Don't touch the game. No, you're dumb. That's a terrible idea. No, it's fucking stupid. No, you're dumb. You're dumb."
And how do you react to that? So he's one of your best friends. Do you ever say, "No, it is a great idea," or do you say, "Okay, well, I have 50 other ideas, so that's fine"?
No, like no. Well, he's usually pretty right.
Mm.
And that's kind of why people ask me a lot, like, why I started a company with my friends instead of, like, it's because I got some money. Like, why don't you just hire some, like, famous designers and stuff, or, like, decent AAA guys, and, like, put them on salary and stuff. I'm like, first of all, we'd go broke in, like, 3 months. I don't got that much freaking money. Like, I can't run an actual studio. We're all working on rev. We're all basically, we're a bunch of friends working for free, and when we put out a game, we each get a percentage of the game. And my NCR flag is falling down. I gotta put that on the
Oh,
flag.
well, it's very nice.
Um,
It's a two-headed bear, right?
yeah, it's from Fallout. It's the
Oh, of course it is. Yeah. I couldn't tell if it was a three-headed. I've got a three-headed bear story I should tell you sometime. Anyway, I'm sorry. You were saying.
And I mean, I reacted because and people are like, why? I mean, Aaron's never designed a game himself or made anything himself. I'm like, I never marketed or published a game myself until I did. You got to give people. I think you got to give people, let them fail or let them succeed on their own. I know Aaron and my dudes are capable of putting out a fun ass game, a killer game. I know Aaron is capable of designing a game by himself that'll be awesome. And I just need to give him the opportunity to do that. There was a great dice talk 2 years ago, the Ted Price from Insomniac game. It was called Trust and Balls, Balls with a Z, which is a terrible name for a talk. But it was basically about how to empower your friends and employees and not be like hands-on and hovering over them. And when you see them doing something you don't like, being like, "Let me do that," because that just disenfranchises and demoralizes people. Basically, you have to empower people to be the best coder, best artist, best animator they can be by giving them constructive feedback and just letting them iterate. Kind of like a psychologist, and they'll come to you and be like, "Hey man, what do you think about this thing I've been working on?" "Well, what do you think about it?"
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You think it's great? Well, here's what I think, but I think what's most important is what you think and why you think that way. And kind of the thing with New Blood, to our benefit and detriment, is I've tried to be very hands off. Because like you were saying, when I'm hands-on, I'm like really hands-on. Like, no, we should do this, 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 and this. No, let's do that. And the next thing you know, like Aaron and the dudes will be like, "Okay, well, Dave wants this now. Good job. Okay, so I'll just scrap all this other shit I was working on. I guess this is dumb." And I'll be like, no, that's not what I meant. It was like, so it's so hard to convey sometimes what you're really thinking. But at the same time, when I'm completely hands off, a lot of times people just kind of float. Like, "Oh, well, Dave's not around. Maybe, nobody will notice if I don't, get this other thing done this week." Or, so it's hard. And I've heard that from a lot of small studios, where the leader, I say CEO because I can't. This is like CEO makes you think of like a big company, and I should be like some old dude with like a gray beard, like Smithers. But when you're the head of a small studio, if you're not around a lot of times, because a lot of us are working, like nights and weekends, right? It's all part-time for us. Like my main gig, I'm a gunner 9 to 5, right? I go to the gunner office, I work there, I come home, and I try to see what the guys are up to and see if we've made any progress on stuff. And it's slow going, right? I mean, if we were a full-time company with salaries and a bunch of employees, we probably would have put out a game or two our own by now. But instead, it's just like nights and weekends and friends kind of doing stuff on the side. And while that's great, working with your friends, a lot of times, stuff you're like, what the hell have we haven't gotten barely any progress done in the last 2 months. Like, well, I was traveling here, and this guy was doing this thing, and this guy was working on a side project for some other company to make money. And it's hard. Like, it's the best and worst of working with your friends, right?
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you have to decide whether you're going to be a friend and a support to them, or like a control and an overseer and a boss, and find space in between where you sit most of the time. But sometimes you have to switch between hats and kick people's butts into gear, or just be like, do whatever you want. Your butt is fine.
Yeah, I mean, and Aaron, me and him talk about that a lot, just basically where it's like, bro, like, I need you here to, like, yell at people because I can't be that guy. Aaron's a super nice dude. He can't yell at people. But at the same time, like, I don't want to yell at people, and I'm pretty good at it if I want to be, but I don't want to, like, have an environment where I'm just like, hey, that you were supposed to have that thing done last week. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, there's got to be a better way to say that, especially to your friends, right? And that's why you should never work with friends and family. That's what they say, right? Because next thing you know, your family's not talking to you and your friends hate you. But it's we kind of are family, so that's what makes it hard, but also makes it great. Because I know when we succeed, it'll be awesome because we succeed as friends and family. But when we're not cooking, it's hard for me to come down on people, and it's hard for Aaron to come down on people. And a lot of times people just bring stuff to me, and they're just like, hey, can you whip everybody's ass into shape, please? Like, I need some stuff done. And people don't, because people only listen. A lot of times people only listen to the leads.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same thing on Triad, like we'd be behind, like somebody wouldn't be, finishing some of their tasks or whatever, and unless it came from like Frederick or Terry or me or something, like it wouldn't get done, and we'd have to get in there, and he would have to shuffle people around, and that's when I think one of the things that Frederick does really well in Interceptor is running a studio, and being a project manager and getting tasks done on time, because that's the hardest part. I mean, you see games just get pushed and pushed, and if you've ever talked to anybody at a big studio, it's a leadership thing. It's because tasks aren't being assigned and getting finished, and people end up crunching and taking over for other people, and it's always internal. People disagreeing on what should be in, or arguing over minutia. And I want to avoid all that, but at the same time, like, I want to get games made.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard, and it's like, do I keep chugging along, trying to get the boys to, put out stuff ourselves, or do I just go and hire a bunch of dudes? Should I hire some independent contractors? Should I get a company like Virtuous to make stuff for us? Should I go up to DigiPen and hire a bunch of college kids, to work, and then just kind of, lead them?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, it's because we're still so new at this. We call ourselves a studio, but I mean, we're not like, it's not like we're all working in a room, with, I don't have W-9s and shit like that. We're not like, we're a legal entity, but, I'm not like paying anybody. We're just kind of working to make games.
But that's worked for you in the past, and it does seem like that. Making it so it's not like this is your job and you're going to be stressed out, as opposed to you're working for your friend who cares about you and likes you and is going to have to crack the whip every once in a while, but you want to make that guy happy. To have a leader who you enjoy making happy, as opposed to one who like rules you with a taser and makes you just feel miserable and downtrodden. I think it's going to work for you, Dave. I think you're on the right track.
I hope so. I think so far so good, right? We're not having any issues yet. We're having fun. Sometimes we question what we're doing, but I mean, we're having fun. I mean, the companies, just the fact that we made this company and we've got like a little brand going and a thing, and like, should we make t-shirts? We could sell t-shirts. We could make New Blood hats. We could put like a Mazda Bongo on a t-shirt and people might buy that. It's fun. We've got like a little social media presence, and we've got a killer website because Sean makes really cool shit. You know, we got a really cool logo. Like Steam actually pays us for stuff. Like I still couldn't believe like the day I checked like the New Blood bank account and there was like a few $1,000s in there. I was like, I didn't put any money in the bank account, and there was like a big deposit from Valve, and I was like, oh, we're a real company. Somebody paid us. I still couldn't believe that like I set up the LLC and then like set up the banking information with Valve and they accepted it and then they direct deposit money into the New Blood bank account like we're a real company and shit. Like that was really cool for me as a business guy. I was like, holy shit, like we have a real company, because I don't even remember starting it. Me and Aaron were in such like a whirlwind after Triad finished because we were just busy working on DLC and stuff. Because Aaron worked on Triad with me too. Most of the multiplayer stuff in that game was actually just like kind of me and Aaron going back and forth. And we were like, we should start our own company. Like, yeah. And it was with we had another buddy, Craig, who was working with us at the time, and we're just like, we should start our own studio, make our own games. And I literally do not remember when we did that. Like, I don't remember founding the company or applying for the LLC. It's like all like a blur.
Were you certainly sober when it happened? When you were pressing the buttons?
Ooh, that's debatable. That is debatable. If I was sober when we founded New Blood, like I don't remember any of it. But I mean, I'm glad we did. I mean, like I said, the dream right now is just so Aaron's still in New Zealand, right? And so is Sean. Actually, most of the team's in New Zealand, which is pretty strange. And the whole dream is just kind of like get them to the States and get them working in the garage, right? Making games. And like I have a garage. Like the garage is there. There's Ethernet in the garage. What I don't have is the boys down there working on games. Like the whole dream is to have like, maybe I'll get like a rope ladder and I can climb down to the garage and be like, what's up, motherfuckers? How's the game going? And then climb back up into my office. Like that's like my crazy dream in my head, that's what I want right now. I mean, I'm so tired of and I travel like 30 weeks a year to conventions and stuff like that. And like this last week was GDC and PAX back to back, and that was nuts. I'm too old, man. I'm 30. I tell that to people, they're like, fuck you, you're not old. But I'm starting to feel it, man. Like, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. Like the back-to-back, the PAXs, the Comic-Cons, the DICEs, the GDCs, because it's gotten to the point where I'm just kind of like going to like see people, and I'm not like, I don't have anything new going on, and I kind of just want to just like hide out, and just like work on stuff. I just want to like work with the boys and get some stuff done, and then maybe get back into like the whole convention scene in like a year or so. But I've like had it, man, with just like it's just like you go to a thing and then next thing you know you're drinking and you wake up hungover and you got to go to a meeting and there's another one and another one and there's another convention and another party and meanwhile the guys are at home like, hey Dave, when you coming home so we can work on games, to Papa, when are you coming home, Papa?
But you got this whole thing going from the social aspect of games by meeting Rip 10 on WoW is how you got started.
Yeah, and I mean, being like professionally popular or whatever is definitely a benefit, right? It's a big reason why I work at Gunner and stuff like that. My network is a big part of why people want to work with me. They know I can connect them with other people, and that's what I kind of pride myself on, that, being able to connect people in places and help them grow their careers. And it's cool that I'm able to do that. But I mean, at some point, you just gotta worry about what's at home. I want to spend time with my girlfriend. I want to spend time with my dogs. I want to make games with the boys. And Gunner's right here. I don't have to go anywhere. Gunner's around the block from my house. And I'm only 3 days a week there now. I'm trying, because it's kind of been like this running joke in gaming and tech. Like, Dave Oshry has 5 jobs, working all the time, never sleeps, that crazy Dave. And I'm just like, help, please.
That's actually true, yeah.
Yeah.
Not that funny.
But I did this to myself, right? It's not like anybody's forcing me to, like, I have a hard time saying no to, like, cool opportunities. So I've been trying to simplify, right? We're trying to, like, finish Triad with Interceptor, get that just, the last patch, the last update, the big thing on Steam. Like, I love working at Gunner. I love my position there. I'm only there 3 days a week now. I'm doing biz dev stuff. We've got, like, a lot of cool licenses coming up. Like, I signed deals with, like, Blizzard. We're working on stuff with Razer. That's not a big secret. And I want to get those launches out the door, launch a whole bunch of cool new eyewear styles. But then, like, the other 4 days a week, I've got time to work on games and play games and spend time with the dogs and Julia. And I think that's, like, the plan, right? That's what I want. I want to stop being like, crazy Dave Oshry, like, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Rock and roll. What are you buying today? What can I do for you, man? Being like, it's fun. Like, I'm a sales guy. I come from that background. I sold cars, when I was 16. I grew up in a car dealership. I'm a used car salesman at heart. Like, hey, double guns. But like, being that guy like 24/7 is nuts. I don't want to, like, people watching me now, they're like, that's not the Dave Oshry I know. The Dave Oshry I know has got his hair back. He's wearing like a cheap suit. He's like, how's it going, man? Saul Goodman. I'm very much like Better Call Saul when I'm out at like conventions and stuff like that. And then I come home and I'm just like,
you can't be that much like Better Call Saul, because he doesn't know he's like Better Call Saul. You know.
He doesn't know yet. Anybody who's watched like I'm a huge fan of Breaking Bad and Saul and stuff. And we are a dying breed of like high energy salespeople, and I feed off of it. I love it. I love going to like PAX and like being at the booth and doing giveaways and be like, what can I get for you? What can I get for you? Who's next? Rock and roll. But then it's just like, and people expect me to be like that all the time. I'm getting kind of old for that. Just being like 24/7 energy. I mean, I love it. I love that. The people I can sell stuff to, my consumers, like who love the games that I've worked on and the products I sell, are into it. That high energy, but I'm trying to like reel it in a little bit. And then, I mean, there's a time and a place, right? You got to pick and choose. Especially like last week killed me. Like I drove up to GDC, and I was there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday night, I left right from the Valve party and got on a plane to PAX overnight. I left at midnight, got into Boston at 11 a.m., went right to the booth, set up the booth, the gunner booth at PAX East, and then didn't go to bed till 11 p.m. that night. So I was up for 36 straight hours doing a combination of game dev and gunner stuff, and it was just like, what the hell am I doing?
And then that went till Sunday.
Yeah, and then then it was Sunday, high energy sales for 3 days, plus a panel I was on. Plus, I think we were going to do Sup Holmes last Sunday live from PAX, and I was like, please no, leave my bloated corpse off of Holmes show. And I was just like, I'm done. And I've talked to a lot of other people who have kind of taken a step back from doing like the whole circuit and stuff, like my buddy Marcus Beer, you probably know, Annoyed Gamer. He's taken a big step back from that stuff to just like focus on the home life, and projects he can work on. My buddy Billy Shibley, who is a community manager on Destiny now, he used to be a content dude at Machinima, and he, like me, he was at every show, just drinking and talking. You'd see him everywhere. Everybody, hey! And now he's just like, he's just home. He's playing Destiny. He's working on Destiny, doing stuff with the Activision guys, and he's happier. And all these guys are just like, they're home, they're getting, and the big thing is like healthy. Like, when you're out drinking and talking to people or networking, as they say, it ain't networking.
There comes a time in a man's life when he feels as though he's mastered the social sphere. He's like, I am beloved Dave Oshry. I am a known quantity. Of course, not everybody likes me. If I do anything interesting at all, then sure, I'm going to have some people who like it and some people who don't. But do you feel like you got to a point where you went as far as you could with the networking business side and or want to be more behind-the-scenes business creative side of your life?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially when I was at DICE and GDC this year and stuff, I was just kind of like floating around like, what am I doing? I'm just seeing people. I'm basically, like, I love seeing people I already know. That's like a big part of me going to things. I love going to these events just to see people, because this is the only times we see a lot of these people, in the business community, when we go to these shows. But at the same time, it's like it's gotten to the point where that's like all I'm doing. I'm just going, I'm hanging around the bar, and smiling, wave. Hey, what's up, man? Good to see you. Fuck yeah, what are you working on? How's that thing going? Yeah, when's it coming out? You work? Yeah, I'm working on stuff. Selling glasses, making games. The thing I always say is busy as usual. Hey, what's up? Busy as usual, man. What are you up to? Busy as usual. It's just gotten to the point like, well, I am busy, but what the fuck am I doing? I'm not home working on games. I'm not a gunner signing deals. I'm out here, drinking with you, getting, just talking about shit we used to work on or stuff what other people are doing.
Sure.
But yeah, it's tiring, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to act like like I'm some social media maven or some super popular dude. It's just that I think when you see these people, a lot of times, if you don't got anything new, it's just like, well, we live in a world of very much, what have you done for me lately, right?
Sure.
And I don't ever want to be that guy who did that thing 5 years ago and hasn't done anything since, right?
Sure.
I've got so much opportunity to keep doing fun shit. I want to keep doing fun shit. I don't want to be that guy who like made like, hey, Rise of the Triad, woo! I remember that game. That came out in 20. That's already 2 years ago, you know. And I've done a bunch of stuff since. And people know me mostly for the Gunner stuff now. But I mean, there's so much more fun stuff we can be doing or putting out, and I want to do that.
So, of knowing that going to PAX East and GDC permits you from getting like, I don't know, 5% of game stuff done, and you could have come that much closer to getting your next game out. It sounds like it feels like, well, I lost an opportunity to be productive. And before, networking, socializing, that had an air of productivity to it because it was like, I'm building the Dave brand. I'm like getting the Dave out there. I'm making connections, and I'm going to get jobs through this, and I'm going to meet people through this, and we're going to form a creative team, and blah, blah, blah. But you've already done all that. You've got the team. You've got the company. You've got the job. Now it's time to make the stuff. That's what I'm hearing from you, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you should work for me. I like that. Yeah, I really want to simplify my life. I want to bring it back in house. I want to get Aaron to the States. I want to make games in the garage, man. That's the dream.
That's an awesome dream.
And
how long has that been your dream? To dial it back a little bit, because you started used car salesman at 16. But then also wrote for freelance for Kotaku and other such places. So you've got the creative aspect to you where you can have a head full of ideas and have the wherewithal and the passion and the craft to get those ideas out. You said you're not a creative type before. You're not making the graphics, but you.
I'm creative,
you're
but
pretty
I'm not,
dark.
I like writing definitely. If we ever do like a game that's got some story to it, I'd definitely like to do some of the writing. But I mean, like I can't draw. I can do like stick figures. I can't code. Coding is hard. God bless coders. I can't animate. That's like serious work. But I've got this gift. I can do that. I can do a lot of that. And in this space, that comes in handy. Being able to talk, just make deals, make shit happen. A lot of people, especially in this industry, aren't social. Antisocial. They just want to be, in their cave making stuff, put it out, and hope somebody likes it. So just being a guy who's involved with games, who's a lot of business guys, a lot of suits like me, because I'm kind of like a suit now, and I hate it.
Are you though? Is it possible for you to be a suit? Really?
I've worn a suit. I feel like I'm caught between this weird place where like I talk to all these dudes who are like these C-level executives in suits at like DICE, and then like all like my people, like all these Twitch streamers and like consumers at like a PAX, and I'm like, do I want to just? I mean, there's benefits to both sides, right? Like you need the suits to help fund your stuff and get that network going and meet new people and grow the company. But I mean, the consumers are what's important. They're the guys who buy your shit. They pay for everything. They're the guys who are watching this stream. Like, there's no CEOs watching me on Holmes right now, but I'm pretty sure a bunch of the people, or people who know me through Gunner or bought Gunners or New Blood and stuff like that. And those are, I mean, I want to focus on the consumers, but you got to focus on on the big fish. And I'm kind of caught in the middle there, and a lot of it's like, well, where do I go? And I think I feel kind of disenfranchised, like I almost feel like I don't belong anywhere. Like I'm not like old or hoity-toity enough to be like a game industry suit, and I don't have that much experience. These guys got 20, 30 years in the industry. But at the same time, I'm not like a scrappy game writer anymore. Back then, when I was writing stories and just hanging out at press events, we're all in the press room, just so it's like I don't fit in there anymore either. So that's kind of why I like being consumer facing, because those are people I can relate to. Like, I help make a thing, you like the thing, hey, come get the thing.
But you kind of fit everywhere, from what I can stand. That's the thing about being a jack of many trades.
Yes,
not quite all,
I like
but
to say
many.
Jew of all trades.
You,
Video game industry, Jew of all trades, Dave Oshry.
Yeah, you kind of are able to find a place everywhere, and you're not a suit because I think you still care more about creating something that's fun and connecting with people over just creating money for yourself for the sake of making money. Like you don't seem like you're following the path of most assured financial success. And that keeps you from being a suit in my mind, anyway.
I mean, it's not. It's they kind of go hand in hand, right? A lot of people still haven't realized that being consumer forward is what's going to make you successful. I mean, there's companies like CD Projekt who get it. You know, they're like, here's all our DLC, it's free. We will, you know, we work for you, the consumer. And I've always been that way. Like with Triad, everything we put out was free. You know, the game was DRM free and stuff like that. And I'll never not be the guy. Every day I wake up and I check all the forums for all the things I've worked on. And I answer everybody's questions personally. I answer a ton. I do all the Gunner social media and all the Triad social media and all the New Blood social media with Christian, who's our community dude. And I answer everybody's questions personally. Somebody's like, Gunner's like the lens popped out. Just email me, dude. Yeah, sure, I'm the VP of the company, but like I'm not like above answering your question or forwarding it to the right person. And I don't ever want to be that guy. You know, I always want to be approachable, reachable, and able to communicate, you know, forward-facing with consumers. Because once you lose that, you have no idea what your customers want. And if you deliver to your customers what they want, you will be successful. If you're there for them, you will be successful. If you're a company that doesn't give a shit about your consumers, yeah, sure, you might make money, but not as much as you could be making, or you're making it the wrong way. You know, at least that's how I think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that to me makes you the kind of leader people want to have. Somebody who's actually in it for the passion and the excitement of creating while you have time to create. Yeah, you got the passion, Dave Oshry.
The passion. That's another thing. I felt myself losing it a little bit. Losing some of that passion, some of that drive. It's funny, once the money starts going, you'll see me, that's when I really start to hustle. It's pretty funny. Like, I'll look at, like, finances, what we spent on stuff, and I'll be like, Aaron, let's go, let's make some games, time to make games. Like, what happened? Did you look at your fucking Chase account? I'm like, yep, let's go, hustle time, let's do the scene. Who needs this? Who wants that? Who wants to make a game? What am I publishing? Like, where's Strafe? So, I mean, I feel like I'm losing that, and also I feel like I'm beginning to, like, especially with, like, the suits and, like, the dice stuff, and when I go to, like, some of these events, I feel like I'm starting to hate myself a little bit, or like, you know, the idea of Dave, you know, everybody expects me to be on and just be like Saul Goodman all the time, and I'm like, I wish I could just kind of like be myself.
I think people are going to like you when you're toned down a little bit. They're going to like you just as much. You, of course, bring energy and make people feel really good when you're on, but subtle human Dave who's just like, yeah, my day isn't perfect. Maybe I'm not always able to just be what other people want me to be. That's still a good Dave. It's a great Dave.
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. I know so. Gosh darn it. Yes, I do.
Get gosh darn it, people like me. Good enough. I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me.
I have such mixed feelings about Stuart Smalley because he's ridiculous. It's all yeah.
They didn't bring it back for the 40th anniversary for a reason.
Yeah, that's a good point. They did make that movie that everyone hated. Oh yeah, they did. Stuart Saves His Family. Check it out.
Shit, I don't want to. That can't be good.
So what are the other things at New Blood? Can you give us hints about what New Blood is working on? And forgive me if I've forgotten. What else you've announced already?
So we haven't announced anything yet, except that you know, we're working on some stuff. We're working on, so we're definitely going to be making a follow-up to Super Galaxy Squadron. We're going to call it the Not for Charity edition. Please give us money. Oh no, my flag.
That's
you know what
happening today.
I'm going to wear the
There you
NCR
go.
flag.
Yes.
Yes. Oh yes. See. Hey Avalon. We're working on definitely going to make a sequel to Super Galaxy Squadron. We'll probably call it something like Ultra Galaxy Squadron. Basically like a bigger version of that. That's like down the line. You know, like more ships, more enemies, co-op, stuff like that probably. Just like you know, like Super Galaxy Squadron was like an $8 game. We're going to make like a $15 version, like bigger, better, whatever. That's down the line. We're working on another game. It's funny because like none of us give a shit about shoot 'em ups. Like it's like a genre that none of us besides Nick have experience in, and we're kind of like working on like more than one right now. So this other game that we're working on, it's kind of like there's like some shmup stuff going on, but also like some commando type stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we're working on that. That's a fun one. It's with like a really fun, stupid, fun IP that when we announce that, people will be like, yes, you guys should be making that game because that sounds dumb as fuck. Yeah, it's like way too hot to wear the flag. And also, we were working last year, a game that we stopped working on was it was a game that worked in VR, but also not in VR, which was a really cool game that we got kind of we were getting pretty far along. We were almost at like vertical slice, and then we stopped it to work on this other thing. But once we're done with this other thing, I'm just talking in such vagalities right now. So
That's
the
all
one
right.
thing, we still have to do the other thing. We're gonna get back to that, and I think it was cool that we stopped on that, especially because this other thing's way more short term and fun. But also because when we were starting that, it was like at Steam Dev Days, and VR was like at Steam machines, and all this stuff was gonna happen in 2014, and then none of it happened. None of it happened. Like Oculus didn't come out, Steam machines didn't fucking come out, and like we're like right where we were on that game like a year later, and we haven't missed the boat on anything.
Mm.
Like the HTC Vive and like Oculus still doesn't have a release date and stuff, and like Sony's Morpheus, and all that stuff that can work really cool with the game we were working on. By the time we actually finish that game, it will probably just be just in time for like VR and Steam machines and shit. So we're not missing anything. And that's kind of it. Plus, I'm working on helping some more indie dudes publish some stuff. Some of it's I just want to help other people at least either advance their careers or get their games out there, make a little bit of money in the process. Because like we're fortunate enough that like I don't need to like hit milestones and goals and like get ROI and make money on stuff because like I'm doing okay. But I mean the whole purpose is to like really establish us as a company, get Aaron to the fucking States, get him making some decent money so he's not in like the backwoods of New Zealand anymore. Love you, bro. And make games. Have I said making games in the garage enough? I really want to do that. It's like I have this vision, right? So I've got like this big dumb house with like all these extra rooms, and like I got this vision of like we're working in the garage and everybody's got a different bedroom, and like Julia's in the kitchen, like making like food for everybody, and then the dogs are running around. And on Saturdays we like all play in the pool in the backyard and shit and hang out. And throw like block parties, and it's just like this big like game dev flop house
Mm.
type thing, right? Like that sounds like fun to me, like having everybody in one place. Because right now it's just like me, Julia, and the dogs, and everybody like far away, and like
Yeah, you want the family in the house, and you want the family working together, having fun together, living your lives together. Destructoid had a house like that for
Yeah.
a little while. There was like how many people? Me, John Carnage, a man named Venom.
Carnage.
Just
A man
like
named
with,
Venom.
yeah, just
Oh,
Venom.
just his name like Prince,
Yes.
like
That
Venom.
was. Pico, Mouse, Julio.
Pico.
Yeah, I want to say there was
So
like
many
10
people.
people. Hmm?
So many people have worked at Detoid. It's
I
crazy.
know. It's been I
It's-
do think we're the Saturday Night Live of video game blogs in that,
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny, like so many people worked at Rip 10 too, and like Chad's like, hey, did you see that guy like at IGN? Didn't he used to write for Rip 10? I was like, yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
I think
Uh-huh.
even like Alex Navarro did. Speaking of like, I think Chester's like coming to visit next week. He's everywhere.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah, he's doing great. I heard Rock Band 4 is not coming to Wii U though. What the fuck, Pope?
They're waiting for that install base to get there.
I
That's all.
had to get that in there. Yeah, I mean, I saw Hamza last week. It's crazy. Yeah, you guys really are like the Saturday Night Live. Are you guys gonna do a 40th anniversary special where you bring everybody back? You bring like
But
Bert
yeah.
back and Nick and everybody, and you do stuff.
It
That'd be
is
pretty
our
cool.
9th birthday next week.
Oh,
And we
only
do
9?
have some stuff. Only 9, yeah. Destructoid's been around for 9 years, and the Destructoid All-Stars may be making a return
Oh,
for the heck of it. There's a
some
lot of
tall
people.
some
Yeah.
Carnages, some Max Scovilles, some leather jackets.
It could be. I saw
Yeah.
Carnage at PAX East. He hasn't changed a bit.
Yeah, I know. I saw him at PAX East too. He didn't have Fred Durst with him this time. He usually does. He's like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
have you met Fred Durst? It's like, yes, I have. I met him last time you guys were hanging out.
But I'm interested in your philosophy on business. Because business, for a lot of people, is a 4-letter word. It means, people who want to make money at other people's expense. So it's like, I'm going to push someone down to lift myself up on a grand financial scale. You do not seem like you approach business in that way.
No, and I get that a lot, especially because people forget that video games are a business.
Mm-hmm.
People like who knew, people really look down, and shout out to all the other marketing and PR people in video games who get shit on, like, you're not a game developer. You don't make you're not sitting in this, you know, in this coffee shop making fucking games in Unity with me. You know, like, yeah, games take marketing and PR and business and stuff like that, but there's, you know, there's like high level like EA type shit. And then there's the stuff I do where it's just basically work hard and don't be a dick. That's my philosophy on business. Work hard and don't be a dick. Never be working less hard than anybody you work with, because I think that's the way to inspire people. And I think going back to that Ted Price talk, which is a fucking go watch Ted Price's Dice Talk on Trust and Balls, because I love Ted. He's one of my idols. Even though I didn't play Sunset Overdrive because I don't own an Xbox.
Not yet. You'll get to it. It's there.
I will eventually. Well, like last console go around, I had an Xbox 360, and like 5 years later, I got a PS3. I think it just goes that way. You get one, and then eventually you get the other. Maybe when the Xbox One isn't like the size of a Betamax, I'll get one. Who remembers Betamax? Hey. You know, so yeah, work hard. Don't be a dick. Don't ever be the guy not working as hard as the people working under you, and just, I mean, look for. It doesn't always have to be a home run. I work for a lot of small successes, small things. You know, resume of life. That's a big thing for me. Like, I don't ever want to work on anything I wouldn't want to put like on my resume of life. Like, hey, I helped with that. I did that. You don't always have to be the fucking alpha dog. You know, some people always want. You know, it's like, hey, I helped work on this thing. Put my goddamn name first in the credits. It's like, who cares? You know, a lot of people. You know, for as many people that know me and the stuff I've worked on, there's a bajillion that don't, and that's fine. You know, I don't ever want to be like famous. I don't ever want to be able to be a guy who can't go to a convention and like walk around because people want to take like selfies with me and shit. Like, I don't want to be that guy. So we had at the Gunner booth, I don't know if you know Tucker and Sonia. They're famous like YouTubers and Twitch streamers and stuff. They came to the Gunner booth and they were like, "Do you guys have any hoodies or jackets?" And I was like, "Why?" They're like, "We need to cover ourselves up because we can't see the show." They can't walk around the show floor because they get stopped like every 2 minutes by people wanting to take pictures and stuff. And you know, because they don't want to be like, "No, sorry, no pictures," because then they're assholes. But they want to like be able to like see stuff and buy things, you know. And they literally had to like cover their faces and walk around like this. And I don't ever want that to be my life. You know, it's an awesome problem to have, right? If you're like that popular and you've got like millions of YouTube subscribers and people want to take pictures with you. I don't ever want to be that guy. I don't think Aaron ever wants to be that guy. We just want to make cool shit, and I think we want to just be able to talk to our consumers in a real way. I want to keep Gunner that way. I don't ever want Gunner to be a company where like you have to reach out to a customer support representative in India. I mean, you know, I want you to be able to email dave@gunners.com. That's my email. If you ever have any questions or like just about anything. Like, it might take me a while to get to it because my inbox is a mess. But, you know, I don't ever want to be that guy. I don't ever want to be the business guy that's too businessy or too fucking important to talk to people. Like, I don't want to be like sitting around the table and have some dude, you know, come up and be like, "Oh, excuse me, son, like the adults are talking." Like, I don't want to be that fucking guy, you know. I want to be I mean, at the same time, I don't want to be wearing flip-flops and giving a dice talk, Palmer Lucky. But, like, I don't want to be, you know, I want to be that approachable business guy when people are like, "Man, like, I've got a great game. I've got a great idea. I wish there was somebody who understood business and marketing and publishing that I can talk to about this. That wasn't just a contact at blankpublisher.com." You know, I want to be like, if anybody ever has questions about like marketing, publishing, biz dev, and like anything, sales, just email me. Like, I'm always an open book, you know. And I think with the rise of a lot of indie publishers, you know, there's a lot of that now. And especially, you know, people give Steam Greenlight and Valve a lot of shit for being kind of a mess, but just making platforms more open for people to publish their own games is awesome. You know, GOG is awesome. All that stuff is awesome. You know, but there's always going to be a need. Unfortunately, I know you guys hate it, for salesmen. There's always going to have to be someone who can communicate to consumers because you just can't do it that well. You know, and I want to be that approachable sales guy. That sales guy, you know, need a game made, better call Saul. You know.
It sounds like you know that there's a need for what you can do. But it also sounds like part of you, I'm hearing so many interesting things out of you, Dave Oshry. You're doing a great job being interesting. Part of you...
You hear that, Mom? Interesting.
You never want to have to be the old stodgy business expert, the man in the suit behind the scenes pulling the strings. You want to stay on the human level and meet your consumers eye to eye as one of them and be like, we're all in this together, but we're all getting to do awesome stuff together. And then another part of you, you have this very interesting way of being self-depreciating while identifying how you are important at the same time. Like,
really, a self-deprecating Jew? Who heard of such a thing?
like, it almost sounds like in your perfect world, you wouldn't be necessary. Like, people would just be able to make awesome stuff and sell it and get it out there without having to get help from someone who's such a pro at communicating the concepts. I mean, what you do in business, from what I gather, is you're able to connect the dots between people in ways that someone who's more on the creative side might not be able to do. You're able to organize. People hate organizing. Oh, it's so hard. But you're able to.
That's what Julia does. Thank
Yeah,
God.
but and here you are though. You've got a LLC and you've put a game out on Steam.
I
I
still can't believe that happened. That I have an actual company. Like, I swear to God, it's a racket. Still, I have no idea what's going on. I should probably pay taxes. Yeah, it's just, in a perfect world, sure, yeah, maybe. It's just, I like being me. I just don't want to have to be me 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what that means.
Oh,
like,
sure. Well, the old story. Yeah.
I was gonna say, if like people are expecting you to be like Sagat like all the time, it's like, hey, I know you from that. Yeah, I know you from that. Why aren't you punching people and wearing shorts? Huh?
Sure.
Well, no, that's a character I play on YouTube.
It got to Garth Brooks so badly. You probably know this already. He got so tired of Garth Brooks, the brand, needing to be something he has to represent all the time with hundreds of people's jobs on the line. Like, if he does a bad job at being Garth Brooks one day, the Garth Brooks everyone expects to see, not the human being named Garth Brooks, but the brand he had created, then people are going to lose their jobs if he fails at that. So he just made up a new brand. He made up a new name, Chris Gaines.
Chris Gaines, I remember that.
Yeah. I wonder if you'll do a Chris Gaines. Just come out with a whole new persona.
I think I'll just be like less of a. I mean, I'm getting rid of my fucking hair. That's for sure. The goddamn, like, I'm shaving my head. I'm done.
No, trust me, you don't want to take that step.
No, not that. I'm not bicking it. I'll maybe do like a 3 or something. But I mean, I definitely want to take a step back. I mean, it's gotten to the point, like, I feel like almost like I'm a caricature of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a Dave Oshry, like, wild, wacky, inflatable, arm flailing tube man. And it's like, it's fun, right? It's fun to, like, but it's kind of a shtick, and I don't want to be shtick. I want to be me. I'm not saying that's not me. Like, I am that guy. Like, but I mean,
well, you turned up a notch. Like, you take your natural traits and just exaggerate them, but you want to be able to subdue them and not have to put that energy out for other people all the time. That's how it sounds to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to just, kind of take it back to the shack a little bit.
Well, I want to see you design a game. And before, speaking of game design, you said something very interesting, and people should know this about Super Galaxy Squadron because they may look at it and assume it's another shmup. But one of the first things you told me about it via email was like, it's not a shmup, it's not hardcore, it's not like bullet hell, you're not going to be miserable, it's not high stress.
It's really easy to play.
And that was that a conscious decision of all of New Blood, or was that?
No, that was Nick. So Nick, I mean, he made the game by himself. That's all him. He made it in Game Maker. We just kind of like, polished it up, get all the Steam stuff ready, and put it out, and QA'd it, obviously. But that was all him, and I love the fact that he made a shmup that's not like every other shmup, because every other shmup on the market is just like bullets everywhere, and this one's really like for guys like me who aren't into shmups. Like, you could turn it up to hardcore and endless mode. It's just like a fun game to play for like $8. It's like really tight and it works really well. It's fun to put out a game that's just like a game that works, That's like a fun shmup that's like good for like super shmup veterans are like not going to be into it, right? If you're like, Ikaruga is the game for you. But it's fun. It was made by one dude, and I'd like to make a game when we make a sequel to it that's definitely a bit more involved. But I mean, not every game's got to have like every goddamn feature. Sometimes simple is good. And I'd like to, just keep putting out like some smaller stuff and then working your way up. Everybody I talk to that hasn't made a game yet has like this grand design. They want to make like Halo. It's like oh my God, Julia goes to me the other day, and she's like, hey, my friend wants to make a game. How much money do you think it would take to do this? I'm like, what is it? She's like, well, it's an MMO where you basically play your life, and you get to like different life choices. Like you can grow up and be a businessman or a soldier or a banker. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, what? And she's like, it would be open world and first person. I was like, okay, roughly like $7 billion and 500 people to make that game. She's like, no, no, no. Like he wants it to be really simple. Like you get different life choices, and like if you make a different choice, something else will happen down the road. I'm like, yeah, that sounds impossible. Like you are insane. That sounds like the hardest. That sounds like Star Citizen. Except
yeah.
Star Citizen with choice and consequence. So yeah, so let's make Star Citizen with the involvement of Planescape Torment, and like $300 billion later, in 10 years, we might have a game. Like people have no idea. It's like when you see those games on Kickstarter, like I want to make an MMO, but I don't have a team, and I'm gonna do it for roughly 300K. I'm an idea guy, and I like dragons and swords, and like I can make this game happen. I just need $300,000. And I'm gonna make it. Here's some drawings I made, and like that's what the game gonna look like. And so give me money, and I got ideas, and I'm gonna make these ideas in the game. And I don't know why I'm from the South, but I'm gonna make this game. I'm gonna make it real good. It's gonna be a good game. And so just give me that $300,000, which is coincidentally what I need to pay off my house, but they're not related. And I'm gonna make you this MMO called Dragon World. It's gonna have dragons, and it's gonna be in a world, and okay, that's the end of my Kickstarter video. Thank you, bye. You know, people have no idea what it takes to make games, even the smallest games with the feature creep and working with people and getting shit done. It's hard.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
And until you've gone through it, like I remember Triad started as just like we were just gonna HD it, like it was gonna be like Rise of the Triad with like HD textures and stuff, and then it became like full reboot. And I was like, oh, it sounds hard because then you got to make every character, every animation, every environment from scratch, build all the levels. I mean, even Triad being as small of a game as it was and a low budget game, you know, there was like 30, 40 people working on that thing. That's nuts. You know,
it looks like more. I mean, you did a great job with it. It looks like more people work on it.
And most of them were like volunteers, you know. And now imagine a game of that scale, everybody getting a salary, and you wonder why games cost so much and take so long, you know. And it's hard, man, and why people wonder why people get fired right after a game comes out. The studio fires everyone. Keeping people on salary when they're not, you know, $50, $60, $70, $80,000 a year when they're not actively working on something. It doesn't make sense, especially at a big company that has investors and, you know, goals to meet. It's a business. Games are a business.
A scary business. So you could have stayed in car sales, or you could have gone into Hollywood, or you could have.
I can always go back to selling cars. I've thought about it, man.
Yeah, you could. It might be fun. Yeah, I see you doing
car
that.
lot next to Gunner.
Well,
he opened up a used car lot in Carlsbad, and you might see his videos. Need a car? Better call Dave. I can't be beat. I won't be beat. Yeah.
That would be like job 7 or 8 for you. But you could go back. You could have stayed with that. But for some reason, you went with games. Out of all the things, why do you think that is?
I love it. I mean, I had no idea that you could make a career out of video games. Like, who knew, right? Growing up. Like, who knew that that was a thing that you could do? And then once I figured out that I could, you know, with the writing, like I could have made a decent living writing about games. Like I was making like a few $1,000s a month freelancing. I was like, this is decent money.
Sure.
You know? Yeah, because you know if you pump out stories for the right outlets, they pay you. You know, it's like $100 a feature, $10 a news post. You do like 50, 60 posts, like you're making decent money.
Sure.
And then once I got into publishing and marketing, I was like, well, I have marketing degrees. Maybe I can use that to do this. Because when you go to college, nobody's like, congratulations, you have a marketing game. Go market video games, marketing degree. And it's like, okay, now you go like do advertising or something. Like nobody ever, I mean, maybe they do now. But like back in when I went to college in 2002, there was not like video games weren't a business. There weren't all these like digipens and full sales, and like video game business was not a thing anybody talked about. You just assumed like there was like EA and Ubisoft and big offices and guys in suits who did video game business. There was no like Devolvers and Vlambeers and shit like that there is now. Like indie studios that do business and make money. But now there is. And now there's, guys like me and studios like New Blood that like not only are trying to make our own games, but are more than happy to publish your, Dumbland fucking game too. And it's a cool time to be alive. It's a cool
Absolutely, but how did you get? I mean, when you thought that maybe there would be video game business marketing job in existence, you like worked to try to make that job exist?
No, I mean, because the Triad thing was basically just like I'm gonna do all the, marketing and publishing, marketing and advertising on this game, and if I succeed at this, people will know that I can successfully, publish and market a video game, and I did. So now I can, and I could have parlayed that. Like I could go work at a studio or something, right? I could go be like a mid-level marketing director dude at like some game studio, but I don't think that makes any sense. I mean, for me, I'd much rather be doing my own small thing, helping other people do small things, because I don't want to feel like like a cog in a wheel, and I'm financially independent enough that I don't need like a salaried gig like that. I mean, it'd be cool to like work at like an Epic Games or something like that, right? It'd be rad like to have that on my resume. But I mean, I don't think it's something I need to do right now. I mean, and it seems like, and then that just be another. That's like a full 9 to 5, And when you work in games, it's not a 9 to 5. It's 7 days a week. You're always on, right? You're always crunching. There's always something you could be working on. I think it's because I've been afforded the opportunity to do my own thing. I got to keep doing my own thing.
Well, you really built that opportunity, though. I mean, you decided that this is what your life would be. You could have taken that path at any time. The safe, structured, known, salaried. Well, I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z, and then I'll be done, and I'll go home, and I'll be able to have security and safety. But you decided to put it all out there.
Well, there's something to be said for that too. But I think and there's still plenty of time for us to fail. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we ain't done much yet. We're still very new at this. We can still fuck up real bad. And the next thing you know, I'm working, some, mid-level director gig at a big studio, or selling cars. There's still plenty of time for us to fuck that up. But I mean, I want to give us the opportunity to fail, and moreover, give us the opportunity to succeed, because I think we will. I don't see how we can fail. I've got all the connections. All we gotta do is put out some fun shit and help other people put out some fun shit, and that's it with games. Just we just gotta put out fun stuff. And my dog just opened the door.
I can't wait to see what he's gonna do next.
My dog can open doors. Bear, come here, buddy. Here, you wanna be on the show? Come here, come to daddy. Come to daddy.
Your shirt says L. Oshry. That's good. Oh, what a good-looking dog.
There's my bear. Oh no, you're gonna.
Hound? Is he a beagle or a hound?
It's a beagle, Bear. Look.
It's a big beagle.
What's that? What's that? No, don't give me kisses. No, stop. This is my buddy. This is Bear, aka Beagle Face. He's actually on the roster of New Blood.
Oh yeah.
If you go to the staff page, he's on there as our essential life coach. Hi, buddy.
I can see that.
Say hi, Holmes. Look, I'm on Sub Holmes.
What if you were at Epic or some gigantic company and you got to, let's say you had that job where you are the idea man, essentially that southern guy saying, Dragon World.
I got ideas, dude, Dragon World, herder.
But you just landed in a spot where you got to say, game idea, make it good, and then like walk away and then occasionally come in and tell people, no, not good, bad, do it like this. What would your gigantic, massive, multi-billion-dollar game be, in theory?
Oh, man, me and Aaron have ideas. Oh, you want to go? Hey, come on. Go to mommy. Get out of here. Get out of here. Go there. Go there. Go. Yeah, there he goes. What? You want to hide under my desk? What's wrong? Is Timmy stuck in the well? What? Get out of here. Okay. Me and Aaron we've got tons of ideas. I've got this crazy idea right now for this very 80s retro, super low poly, almost like a Hotline Miami in first person type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But with not with sprites, but just with real low poly and just pumping Laserhawk, Kavinsky type fucking 80s new wave type stuff.
Sure.
I think all I really want is Vice City 2. Because I'm I'm an 80s kid. I was born in the 80s. Well, I guess that makes me a 90s kid, hence all the FPS retro stuff. I don't know. I think I want to, I've got, me and Aaron, I think we eventually want to make something really fucking dark and brutal.
Yeah, you were saying you eventually want to do a feel-bad, yucky epic of some kind.
something like that. Kind of more just like with the I don't know, some kind of Manhunt-esque.
Hmm.
We want to. I think eventually we want to. If we got a budget to make like a shooter, we want to really make a really fucked up shooter,
Are
but not
you
like.
secretly making Hatred? And
Yeah,
I
I was
like
gonna
forgot
say,
to ask.
no, not like Hatred, but like imagine if Hatred was a first-person game and had like a story and a purpose and made sense, and you weren't killing pregnant women. I still want to make a game where you're killing like bad guys,
Mm.
not like innocent civilians for no fucking reason. But I think there's room in games for dark and disturbed and fucked up,
Hmm.
but also awesome. Um, I don't know. We want to make. I mean, Aaron just definitely wants to make something with like a shooter. Aaron's very good at first-person type design. The stuff we're making now is like not conducive to our strengths, like shoot 'em
Hmm.
ups and stuff. But like,
Hmm.
hey, works. Unreal 4 is fun. Um, Man, I got a ton of ideas. I don't honestly I don't want to say some of them because Aaron will kill me because somebody might actually steal them. We've got some ideas for like some like games that are hot right now. Those like stupid survival type games on Steam where it's like,
Oh,
hey,
Rust
build
and Daisy and all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
build this and survive and make $11 billion on Steam. We've got an idea for one that's actually pretty cool that I'm not gonna say because somebody might
Hmm.
literally steal it and make it
Sure.
like way faster than we can. Um, I don't know, man. The game we were working on last year is cool. I want to finish that.
Hmm.
Um, I'd like to Rise of the Triad. We're not done with that IP for sure. I would like to make Rise of the Triad 3. Just skip 2, and like the tagline will be like Rise of the Triad 3. Yes, that's the joke. And just make it just more ridiculous and ludicrous and bloody. Um, I don't know, man. All kinds of stuff. Like ideas are easy, right? Games are hard.
Mm-hmm.
Selling games, I like to say marketing and selling games is easy. Making them's hard. Making games is hard as
I
hell.
don't know about see that's you've said that a couple of times. I've been keeping track. If you are talented and just get a natural energy back from designing a game or working your way at your design to make it more streamlined and fun or doing animation or doing art, then you'd say, well, animation's easy. Everybody loves just spending 8 hours drawing a frame-by-frame animation for Street Fighter 3. You're telling me you didn't do that last week? And likewise, like a lot of people would be like, how many people did you talk to today? And you like managed to say stuff that they didn't hate? And you like got their business card and they like want to work with you? That is work. But for you, it's just like every other day, it sounds like.
It's funny. People are like, you work? I was like, fuck you. It's like, you work? Really? I thought all you do is drink. Like, I don't drink for a living. Jesus Christ. I'm not an alcoholic. Sorry, Mom. And it's just, I've gotten over that hump where people are like, you're not a game developer. It's like, really? Because I've helped put out like 10 games, and it's cool that you're working on some like thing, but like, don't count me out, man. Like, games are a business. But I like bridging that gap between like business dudes and developers because a lot of them hate us, because we're like suits, right? And I don't want to be that guy.
I
So I'm
don't
not
get
the only
that.
one.
If I were making a game, I would be like, you want to be excited about my thing and help communicate that to other people and also help me like figure out how to get a team. I'd be like thrilled to work with you. Gosh darn it, Dave.
I hope so. I mean, I think that's what I'm aiming for, especially with a lot of the guys I talk to about publishing their games. They're like, holy shit, there's a guy like you, and you've got money. I mean, a lot of it is just like money, right? A lot of it just people need some money. And I don't have a ton of money, but I have enough to like help like small indie projects. Like,
But
there you
before you had money, you're very. One of the other reasons you're so interesting, in case you didn't know, is you were saying before in so many words. A lot of people who work on games not as social. You naturally social. You love video games, but you have the air of like a lovable. I don't want to go as far as to say bro, but people immediately feel like you're like a brother. You're like a cool alpha male-ish dude to me, who at the same time accepts people regardless of how cool they are. You like just about everybody.
Yeah, being a game industry like dude, bro, and don't worry, I've been called that a million times. I when I was on Kotaku, they called it brotaku. It's just like who's this fucking dude wearing like polo shirts and like combing his hair?
Yeah, you get some of that reverse nerd racism where the nerds don't like you because you're not a nerd. You get some of that?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, all the time. They're like, why don't you have like dyed hair and like why do you work out? What the hell's wrong with you? and it's fun to like kind of like work with, because it's weird, like a reverse stereotype. It's because it's like I wasn't cool in high school. I wasn't like on like a fucking football team. I'm 5.5 feet tall. And it's funny. So like in real life, I'm like the nerdiest dude ever, right? I'm like this nerdy little Jewish guy. In the game industry, I might as well be like fucking John Cena,
Yeah,
right?
you are.
It's like,
Yeah.
what's up, bro? It's like, whoa, calm down. It's like Dave Oshry, dude, bro. And I'm like, really? Like, could I have been this cool in high school, please? Like when I had like no friends. So it's a funny dichotomy, but trying to like bridge that gap between like a guy who's like comes from the legit business world and has degrees and like stuff like that, and talking to people who are just like bootstrapping and trying to do stuff and being like, I can help you. I am your bro in the game industry. I will wear your polo shirt with your logo on it for you, and I will go to Dice, and I will shake people's hands, and I will get their business cards, and I will give them to you and be like, look whose business card you have now.
You
You
can do
know,
that stuff.
I
Not
can do
everybody
that
can do
for
it.
I can do that for people, and it's fun to be able to do that for people. I still get a lot of like, you don't belong here. Like you're not a indie. You're not a game developer.
But
You're not one of
to
us.
me, if you want to be there, if you love video games, and you're looking across from these people and saying, I like you and I want to work on things with you, then you belong. I'm angry. I'm actively angry that anybody would want to disinclude you, Dave. That sucks.
It's changed a lot. I
Yeah?
mean, I think it's definitely changed a lot, especially so when I was a writer, there was a lot of that, because it was like I was always like overdressed to like press events. I'd be wearing like a sport coat. No, I was always wearing like a button-up shirt and a sport coat, and had my clothes all pressed and shit. They'd be
But
like,
were you looking at people and saying, why aren't you dressed like me? Or were you saying, like, hey, everybody, let's work on a thing?
no, I was just well, that was when I was writing. I was just trying to be professional.
Yeah.
I was like, if you wanna, I was working for some tier 2 game blog, but I wanted people to think that like I was as legit as a guy writing for IGN. So
Sure.
I'm gonna put on a sport coat, I'm gonna smile and shake hands, and a lot of people were just there to just get the story and write and leave. I was schmoozing as much as I was writing,
Mhm.
and my stories were better off for it.
Mhm.
I would publish previews like a month after everyone else, and it'd be like 10,000 words, and it would talk about everything from the food they served us at the preview. A lot of people like, glance over the details of like, when you get to write about stuff and do interviews. I talk about all of it, be super transparent, like this is what they fed us, this is my Perrier that I got, and this was the developer I talked to, and this is what he was being yelled at by his PR person, because it gives more insight, and the stories were better off, and I'd get more page views for shit like that.
I'm sure. And people, a lot of our readers, or my readers, formerly your readers, they want to know what it's like to be us. Because
Yeah.
I know when I was growing up. Well, it is and it isn't,
It's
isn't
cool.
it?
That
Yeah.
was the coolest part. I mean, I think me and a lot of people when we started writing about games is like I just wanted free copies of shit to review.
Yeah.
Like wait, you're telling me if I start writing about games, companies will send me games to review like a week before they come out? What?
Yeah.
And that's how it starts. And then eventually you're like, I want to break some news. I want to do some interviews with like some famous developers. Like, holy shit! I interviewed Hideo Kojima once. Like that was so cool, and he had a translator. And like stuff like that, and it grows and it grows, and then you realize like this industry is just like it's crazy fun, but it's so much work.
Absolutely. So competitive, and there's so many people who love it too, and you can't help but. I mean, if you want to win at this industry, you better get ready to reevaluate your standards because. Yeah, you got to just love the moment because you never know if you're going to be able to be the top dog or not. You got to be okay with it if you're not. I think you were saying things.
And you don't have to be top dog. I don't want to be the guy. I like being the guy behind the guy. Like I did a lot to push Frederick, the head of Interceptor. Like when we were making Triad, I was always just like pumping him up, getting him out there, making sure he did the right interviews and said the right things. Because I mean, I think that's what a marketing guy does. Or should do. I mean, there's something to be said about developers who just like speak their mind, like Kamiya and guys like that. It'd be like, "Fuck you, lol, blocked." It's like I don't care if you don't like my games, but at the same time, I mean, messaging is very important, and there's so much, there's so little context and so much nuance about what you say. Like people can take what you say, what a developer says out of context so easily. Next thing you know, it's on Reddit and IGN and all that shit. So as a marketing and business guy, it helps me to be able to like shape and make sure that like when that guy on behind goes out on stage, that he's ready, that he's saying the right things, that he's telling our audience the right things. I mean, it's not fake, right? It's just messaging. You have to say what you mean to say. You know,
Yeah,
and
it's
a lot of
clarity
times,
and.
yeah,
Mhm.
a lot of times you can mean well and just say the wrong shit, and that happens to a lot of people. I mean, like you see all these times, like this developer said something like they're like with somebody who's like, I think we should put 30 FPS in our game because it's more cinematic. Like, oh jeez, oh god, oh jeez, he said the thing. PR, like better start scrambling. And what
Uh,
he and what whoever dude of whatever studio said that a million times probably meant was like, we're gonna lock it at this because it works, and we'd like to do more, but we're gonna lock it at this because it works, and we can make it look good at this level, and it'll help the game, and blah blah blah.
mhm.
It's messaging is so important.
Yeah, and
When I'm
and
the
and
guy behind the, go ahead.
no, just reiterating your point. For some reason, I'm like excited about your points, and I want to say them too. That you are honest and clear, but saying things in a way that actually is understood, instead of a slight misunderstanding suddenly getting blown out of proportion, and everyone completely misunderstood you and hate you when you actually had a good idea.
Yeah, and I've had that on forums a lot too, like where the developers I've been working with come out and said like, we're working on this and it'll be out on this date, and like this is what we're gonna do, and like especially when you're working with people from other countries,
Mm.
there's language barrier, and a lot of the times just context and grammar means so much on a forum. Like if you say something the wrong way, it's like he said, wait, what did this mean? Like it's like no, he didn't. He said, no, but he promised this. Like no, he didn't actually. What he meant was, you never
Mm.
want to have to say what he meant was or what she
Uh-huh.
meant was. Like what she meant to say was this. Well, then why didn't she fucking say that? Well, it's because the marketing guy should have said the thing. Some developers are really good at saying the right things at the right times to the right people, and some are not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a guy like me comes in, and it's like, let me phrase this for you so they understand what you're trying to get out to them. Because your consumer, nobody's more important than your consumer.
Mm-hmm.
To me, at least. I tell people who I love the most. It's like, my mama, Bear, my dog, Julia, my consumers, my other dog, stepdad. Because it's like I really, really care about because without them we ain't shit, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
people like, you still play Rise of the Triad every weekend? Didn't that game come out 2 years ago? I'm gonna play Saturday Night Rise of the Triad until I die because the people that bought that game paid for this house.
Mm-hmm.
I owe everything to them. There would be no New Blood or no 3D Realms or anything without the people that paid for our silly reboot of a game. I owe them everything. I will never not be there to answer a question for them. I will never not be able to there to jump into a multiplayer game with them. I will never not answer their tweets because I owe everything to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with people who buy Gunners. It's like, if you have a problem or if you got something else going, they're the most important. Because without your customers, you have no company.
Mm.
Unless you got
People forget that though. They see the customer as who they trick into giving them their money and to abuse. But you want to lift them up and give them a great experience and meet them on the same level as them, so you're all in it together and you all get to have fun together.
I don't think anybody's knowingly like tricking customers into money. People see like, oh, there's people like Ubisoft and EA, like they just want our money. Like no, they want to make, like, they're a business, right?
You're a wonderful man, but I've talked to the guy who said, like, yeah, I can't wait to rip all these people off. I can't tell you where he works, and I'm not saying they're all like that, but there's certainly guys out there that are like, I'm excited to other people to give me their money, and I'm going to be the one who tricks them into it. What a terrible guy he is. Yeah, I know, he's real.
He wasn't being sarcastic?
No. He was being like,
That's ridiculous.
yeah, evil is real. And you're not evil, Dave Oshry. It's wonderful.
I think, okay, on the developer level, I don't think there's people like that. Even people who are designing like free-to-play systems with gates to whatever, they're trying to do their best job to make sure that it's a fun thing and the thing that they can be proud of. Even if they're stuck in a job that's forcing them to make free-to-play Candy Crush games where you have to pay to get to the next level, like they're trying, I hope.
Yeah, they want people to have fun, absolutely.
Yeah.
But some of the people behind them, I mean, I've met the guy. Anyway, we are about out of time, I think. I am so glad you're around, Dave Oshry.
You're glad that Dave Oshry exists?
Yeah, you are.
You hear that, Ma? Somebody's glad I exist.
The best boss doesn't really want to be a boss. The best business guy doesn't really want to just make all the money. He wants to provide and communicate to the consumer in a way, because you don't want to be the stereotype is why you're excelling at the actual job, and it's great to see that.
I hope so, man. Thanks. I mean,
Hmm.
I work really fucking hard. I'm
Hmm.
trying to work a little bit less hard. But I want to be an example for people who can do business in games, and do it right, and still have fun, and still work with your friends, um, and make games in the garage.
Yeah, the giant garage. It's only going to get bigger. You are going to end up making a Gears of War size thing one of these days.
Christ, I
You're
hope
going to do it. It's going to be awesome because you understand how those games work and what makes them so fun. That's why I'm so glad you're doing the thing. Where can they follow you on Twitter and other places? Where can they
You can
find
follow
you?
me on Twitter at Dave Oshry. You can follow New Blood Interactive at the New Bloods. Same thing on Facebook. Newblood.info for all of your .newbloodinfo. We're so indie we got a .info because .com wasn't big. You can follow Aaron at Aaron Watermelon, Christian and C Antonio. He's our community dude. Rise of the Triads at Rise of the Triad. Apogee's at Apogee Software. On Steam, just search all the games. I don't know.
Super Galaxy Squadron,
Super
Rise of the
Galaxy
Triad.
Squadron, Super Galaxy Squadron, Rise of the Triad, Duke Nukem 1, 2, 3, all the shit I put on Steam. And of course, at Gunner Optics, for all your Gunner Optics needs. I really wish I could have. My eyes are. Could you see that my eyes are actually killing me?
No, your eyes look great.
Those do they? Because I wasn't able to wear my gunners because they reflect. I think it's just the angle thing. I don't do like webcam and streams, so like I always watch streamers wearing gunners, and I'm like, how do I make it so like they don't reflect the monitor? I don't know.
Yeah, next time.
I'm old. I'm like a dinosaur. I don't know anything about streaming or YouTube.
When a 30-year-old guy says he's old, it's like when Kate Moss is like, I'm fat. Like everyone around her is like, Jesus, if you're fat, Kate Moss, then what does that make me? I'm 30.
If you're fat, then Dave Oshry's old.
Yeah, then I'm old and fat by a large margin. As for me, you're going back.
California Republic, I'm doing the thing. I'm cold.
I'm at TronNuts on Twitter. You can watch the show later at youtube.com/SupHolmesShow. All the reruns are on there. You can listen to it later on Libsyn and iTunes. And I think that is about it. Thanks again, Dave. It's great talking to you.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.